Owning a house is not just the cost of the mortgage. There are so many hidden costs, even more than ever before. This can make the whole experience feel like a ripoff, especially when you compare it to 30 years ago. Today, I'm breaking down all the costs of ownership as millennials that surprised us. Today, I'm going to talk about closing on the house, taxes, renovations, repairs, hiring people, and utilities. When we bought our first house, we were so surprised by all the little extra things we had to pay for. We knew about closing costs, but all those inspections come right out of your pocket and they are not cheap. Want to make sure that your sewer line is not going to break next week? That'll be $600. Just a normal inspection can be $600. You can pass on some of these things, but that could be a $10,000 mistake. If something is seriously broken, but you don't get it inspected, that's on you. We also had to put a significant amount of money up for earnest money, but that money does count towards your down payment if you close on that house. It might also take you years to save for your down payment. But home prices are increasing so fast, it can feel like you're always behind. $10,000 might not be enough anymore, and maybe you need $20,000, but you haven't gotten magically faster at saving money. While we are just steadily saving, that house that we want is getting less and less affordable. Unless you have help from parents or grandparents, that house seems to be getting farther and farther away. Over the last 30 years, home prices have gone up exponentially, but the income has not followed. The average cost of a home in 1994, yes, that was 30 years ago, was $157,000. In 2024, the average cost of a home is $412,000. In 1994, people were making on average $32,000 per year. And in 2024, the average person is making $59,000 per year. So the cost of housing has more than doubled, but that income has not kept up. So the kind of houses that are normally in our price range are fixer-uppers. And that means as soon as you close on that house that you can kind of make the payment on, you are stuck with thousands and thousands of dollars worth of renovations. And that brings us to the next thing that surprised us was the cost of renovations. When you think of renovations, you might think of a kitchen upgrade or painting that room over there. But for us, it hasn't always been that way. More like this deck is a hazard. If we don't fix it right now, someone's going to seriously injure themselves. And that is not much of a choice. Your water heater starts leaking, that's urgent and expensive. Every renovation that we ever do always ends up being more expensive than we anticipated. My husband is always super optimistic, but there always ends up being those 20 runs to the hardware store for extra plumbing. You need to add like 20 to 40% of your original estimate for random stuff that comes up. When you're tearing apart your kitchen and your kitchen sink doesn't work and your stove doesn't work, eating out costs money and adds to that cost of that project. Another hidden cost of renovations is tools. I feel like every single time we start a new project, my husband insists that we need a new tool. But how hard can I argue with him when he does most of the work? The average tool seems to cost $200. And then there's the trash. So yeah, we saved ourselves a lot of money tearing off our own roof, but then we had to take everything to the dump and that was $600. The cost of materials themselves have also gone up a ton. So 2020 and 2021 were a bad time to renovate anything. So the cost of materials almost doubled, which means just buying the lumber for your project just got so much more expensive. You can no longer buy a sheet of plywood for like $5. Now it's more like $20. Now we haven't even talked about the big elephant in the room when it comes to renovations, and that is labor. Part of what has made all of these renovations more affordable for us is that we have basically done all the work ourselves. My husband started in construction, which is super handy. Not that it's his favorite thing, but he is good at it. We have also learned so much on the job and from YouTube. It's not really about being an expert, it's about being willing to learn. But when you think about hiring someone, it's so expensive. So for example, if you want to put luxury vinyl planking in your house, you can get some pretty nice stuff at Home Depot for about $3.50 a square foot. But if you're going to have someone install that, it's twice as much. So here are some approximate costs for the renovations that we did on our last house. And this does not include labor. I painted the entire outside of the house myself, $1,000. We replaced 3 windows, $1,200. We replaced a large deck with a Trex deck, $8,000. We remodeled the master suite, $4,000. Updated the kitchen, $5,000. We updated both bathrooms, which included new tubs in each, $12,000. We only lived at this house for 2 years. So that means besides the cost of the mortgage, we were paying on average $1,400 per month in renovations. That's a whole nother mortgage, and I'm sure I'm missing out on a lot of little costs that totally added up. Another thing that surprised us about home ownership is taxes. When we bought our first house, we thought that the mortgage was fixed. We got a fixed rate mortgage, right? Wrong. Part of what you're paying is insurance and taxes when you make that lump sum mortgage payment. And taxes pretty much go up every single year, and sometimes not by just a little bit. So every year it seems like the appraiser drives by your house and magically decides that it's worth a lot more money. I mean, why wouldn't they? That brings in more revenue for the city. Some people have reported that their taxes have doubled since they've lived there. If you bought a house that was barely in your budget, it can be a real bummer if those taxes go up, and that totally blows your budget. And hopefully after your taxes go up, you don't have to do any repairs. I know I talked a lot about renovations, but repairs are like something when your plumbing busts or something, or your sewer backs up. I know, gross, but $600 each time. A visit from a plumber is at least $200. If you have no DIY skills or bones in your body, 2x every single one of your repair costs. The cost of utilities was also a shock to me when we bought our house. When we were living in that cozy 1-bedroom apartment, the power bill was like $40. It was wonderful. And I did not realize the things that the landlord was covering, like trash and water and sewer. As homeowners, we got to cover everything, and of course, it was a lot larger of a space to heat. Nothing like receiving the Christmas present of a $400 power bill in December. This can be especially exasperated if you buy a fixer-upper because the walls may not be insulated, so winter can be wild. And you basically don't have any way of knowing that that's coming when you buy the house. We have a gas fireplace and we were using that, but then the cost of natural gas went way up, and that was no longer a cost-effective way to heat the house. What is one of the most unexpected things that costs you big time about home ownership? Please like and subscribe for more. See you in the next one.